Kamala Harris gave what could very well be one of the worst interviews I have ever seen. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back again with a new video. Today, we have to talk about the 2024 presidential election because Kamala Harris just gave an interview last night, and it was a complete and total disaster for Harris. Like, I really believe, of all the interviews I've watched in recent years, whether it's anything from Biden, whether it's anything from Trump, anyone, quite frankly, that was one of the worst interviews I have ever listened to. For starters, it's only 11 minutes long. That's not a misquote. That's not a typo. Kamala Harris, the Democrat nominee for president, could only speak for 11 minutes. And that's what we know of. Apparently, this was pre-recorded. So there's a good chance that there was some bad stuff from this interview that they cut out. But you're telling me that she can only speak for 11 minutes. Which, by the way, this isn't her 50th interview, like it should be. This is her second interview since she became the Democrat nominee. Think about that for a second. Someone trying to become the next president of the United States has only done 2 interviews in the past 2 to 3 months. Are you serious right now? And a quick reminder that Trump has done, like, what, 50 of them? In the last, 2 to 3 months, it seems like every day Trump is doing another interview. But come on, and not just for 5 minutes. It's for 2 to 3 hours sometimes. Granted, not every interview Trump gives is 3 hours long, but it's longer than 10 minutes. So you know what? Let's watch parts of this interview because I don't think people understand how bad this really was.
Could decide the outcome of this presidential election. You hear it more than I do. People want to know more about you and about your specific plans. At the debate the other night, you talked about creating an opportunity economy. I wonder if we can drill down on that a little bit. When we talk about bringing down prices and making life more affordable for people, what are 1 or 2 specific things you have in mind for that?
This is such a simple question. For crying out loud, even Biden could answer it. It's such a simple gimme question. For crying out loud, all Harris has to say are 2 things she would do as president when it relates to the economy. So let's see what she has to say.
For that.
Well, I'll start with this. I grew up a middle-class kid. My mother raised my sister and me. She worked very hard. She was able to...
You notice what she's just said? She didn't say anything policy-related. The first thing she says on a question on, hey, how are you going to fix the economy? Is, well, when I was growing up, my mother was a working-class mom and I grew up with my sister or whatever. She doesn't answer the question. Are you serious right now? This is the same thing she did at the debate. No, it's word for word. She said the exact same thing during the debate. That's her answer to such a simple question. Let's keep listening to what she has to say.
To finally save up enough money to buy our first house when I was a teenager. I grew up in a community of hardworking people, construction workers and...
This is a lot of nothing. Who cares? The average voter does not care about your childhood. No one cares. Who cares if you grew up in a working class family? That doesn't matter. That doesn't pertain to the question. He asked such a simple question, yet she can't answer it. She can't answer such a simple question that even Biden would be able to give it at least some kind of answer. I don't think it would be coherent, but at least it's something. This is just bad. And we're not even a minute through this interview.
Nurses and teachers, and I try to explain to some people who may not have had the same experience, but a lot of people will relate to this. I grew up in a neighborhood of folks who were very proud of their lawn.
What? What are you talking about? Why does this matter? Like I said, no one gives a shit about your childhood. No one cares where you grew up at. No one cares. And if you know no one gives a shit, why do you keep talking about it? Who cares that you grew up in a working class neighborhood? That doesn't matter. People want to know, hey, Harris, how are you going to fix the economy? Instead of answering a very basic question, you could say anything. And it would be better than whatever the hell this answer is.
And I was raised to believe and to know that all people deserve dignity. And that we as Americans have a beautiful character. We have ambitions and aspirations.
What the hell is she talking about? Why does this matter to anyone? It doesn't. She was given such a simple question, And I'm just stunned that she cannot answer such a basic question. All she had to say, right? She didn't have to say any of this. She could have just said, I'm going to give tax cuts to working people, and I'm going to bring down inflation. That's all she had to say. Or something generic like that. Like, people want to know more details, but at least it's something. This is just bad.
And dreams, but not everyone necessarily has access to the resources that can help them fuel those dreams and ambitions. So when I talk about building an opportunity economy, it is very much with the mind of investing in the ambitions and aspirations and the incredible work ethic of the American.
And to what? What specifically? You talking about infrastructure? You talking about a child tax credit? What? You see the problem? It's just generic. It's not even generic. It's just no one knows what you're even talking about. Invest into what? Invest in the families, into housing? What?
American people, and creating opportunity for people, for example, to start a small business. My mother, worked long hours, and our neighbor helped raise us. We used to call her, I still call her, our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small business owners. I learned who they are.
So how are you going to help them? We're 2 minutes through the interview, and she has not answered this question. Nothing about policy, nothing. It's just, well, when I was growing up, I knew someone that was a small business owner. Everyone does. Give me a break. Everyone knows a small business owner. Stop pretending that that's a big deal. No one cares. Just say something like, I'm gonna cut taxes for small business owners. Just something, not this crap that no one cares about.
From my childhood, and she was a community leader. She hired locally. She mentored. Our small businesses are so much a part of the fabric of our communities, not to mention, really, I think, the backbone of America's economy.
Well, yeah, but again, how are you going to save them? How are you going to protect them?
So my opportunity economy plan includes giving startups a $50,000 tax deduction.
After 2 minutes of answering this question, she finally said something about policy. It took her 2 minutes to say anything. You can't make this up. This is an interview. This is a simple question. How are you going to fix the economy? What are your detailed proposals? She gave no answer for 2 minutes. But finally she did, but who cares? You bored everyone to death with the first 2 minutes of nothing. No one cares about where you grew up. No one cares. That doesn't matter. People want to know, how are you going to fix inflation? How are you going to protect our jobs? Not, oh yeah, I knew a small business owner. Everyone knows a small business owner. That's not a special trait. I don't get what's the big deal here. Why is she making a big deal about, I knew a small business owner?
To start their small business, it used to be $5,000. Nobody can start a small business with $5,000. But investing in people's innovative ideas and giving them the ability to go for it.
Before I let her continue, does anyone else notice how nervous she looks? Like, she sounds nervous, she looks nervous, she doesn't seem right, she seems unprepared. What are you worried about? This is an interview on a local news affiliate. I know millions of people are going to eventually watch it, but still, it's like, you shouldn't be that nervous about this interview. This should be a freebie. This should be a simple interview that lasts 11 minutes. And all you have to say are just basic, generic answers. But she sounds very nervous, like, oh my goodness, what do I say? I have no clue what to say here. Quick, go on a random tangent.
Opportunity economy means, look, we don't have enough housing in America. We have a housing supply shortage. And what that means, in particular for so many younger Americans, the American dream is elusive. It's just actually not attainable. So part of my plan is to work with the private sector and housing developers to give them a tax credit, to be able to partner with us as the government, to build, and my goal is 3 million new homes.
So she finally answered the question, kind of. She gave some kind of answer, but the problem is, this is just bad policy. Anyone with a brain would realize, oh, wait a minute, this sounds good on paper, but in reality, this would be a disaster. Because what would happen is, well, prices for houses would just go up. So this wouldn't solve anything. In fact, it would cause even more problems. Again, she's finally saying something, but the stuff she's saying, it's either not in detail, or it's just bad policy that even the average American would realize, oh, wait a minute, this is not going to solve anything.
Homes by the end of my first term. In addition, to help people who just want to get their foot in the door, literally. And so giving first-time homebuyers a $25,000 down payment assistance.
And that's going to raise housing by $25,000. That's just reality. That, like, it sounds good on paper, but yet again, it's just going to cause the housing to go up $25,000. For those that don't believe me, that's what happened with electric vehicles. That's what happened with solar panels. They gave tax credits to people, and oh yeah, the prices of those things, they went up the exact amount. That's what happens every single time you do $25,000 for a new house. Okay, the price of the house went up $25,000, so you gain nothing. That's the problem here. This is not good policy. And anyone with 5 brain cells would realize, oh, wait a minute. The prices of housing would go up $25,000. This doesn't help anyone. In fact, it hurts people. It's bad policy. It would hurt a lot of people. And in fact, it would not solve what's actually causing the housing crisis.
To be able to just get in the door, and then they will do the work that they need to do to save and to pay that mortgage and to build wealth for themselves and their family. These are some examples of what I mean when I talk about an opportunity economy. And
some examples. You mentioned 2 things. One was, small businesses. You didn't really talk about what you meant by a tax deductible. Like, are you talking about, just a one-time thing, or is it a multi-year thing? What is it? No one really knows. As for the housing thing, this sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. This would fail miserably. It would cause an even larger housing crisis because housing would just go up $25,000. Think about that. For 3.5 minutes, she said a lot of nothing.
a lot of it has to do with just the community I was raised in and the people.
Again, who cares? No one cares about, yeah, I grew up in a working class neighborhood. No one cares. Why does she keep bringing this up every other sentence? It's just bizarre that she keeps talking about, well, I grew up in a working class neighborhood. No one cares. But for whatever reason, she has to keep talking about it. It's like, why? People want to know, what are you going to do as president? No one cares about, yeah, I grew up in a working class neighborhood when I was 5 years old. No one cares.
That I admired, who work hard, and deserve to have.
What a weird statement. Like, okay, yeah, people want to work hard, I get that, but like, the way she said it was so fake. It was like, yeah, go work hard, you plebs. That's what it sounded like. Like, what was that answer? It was bizarre. It didn't sound right. It sounded fake.
Their dreams fulfilled because they're prepared to work for it.
You talked at the debate and at previous appearances about turning the page on the past. And in fact, here today in Johnstown, you're talking about a new way forward. Yeah. I think some people have a question, given maybe your current role as Vice President of the United States, how different you are from Joe Biden. And so I wonder if there are one or two spots, policy areas or approaches where you would say, I'm a different person.
Very simple question. Like, another simple question. How are you different from Joe? That's all she has to answer. Well, let's just see how she answers.
Well, I'm obviously not Joe Biden. And,
Really? That's how you're going to answer such a simple question. Unbelievable. Just a simple question. How are you different from Joe? Well, obviously I'm not Joe. Yeah, no shit. People are talking about policy. How are you different policy-wise, as an example? Like, not, oh yeah, I am physically not Joe Biden. Yeah, no shit.
I offer a new generation of leadership. And so, for example, thinking about developing and creating an opportunity economy where it's about investing in areas that really need a lot of work. And maybe focusing on, again, the aspirations and the dreams, but also just recognizing that at this moment in time, some of the stuff we could take for granted years ago, we can't take for granted anymore. For example, another...
So, what does she mean? Like, what the hell is she talking about? How is that different from Biden? Is she saying that Joe has invested nothing into America? Really? I thought his whole campaign was, yeah, I fixed America, I invested in America, made in America. Remember that? To me, this makes no sense. Like, I don't really get what she's talking about. Invest into the future. What? Invest into what? Like, manufacturing? Into what exactly? The tech industry? You see the problem with this interview. She goes on tangents that no one gives a shit about, and then when she kind of answers the question, it's a bunch of nothing. There's nothing here. And for the rest of the interview, it's the same thing. It just keeps going on, and she talks about, oh yeah, I used to be the DA. I used to be a prosecutor. No one gives a shit. She keeps going on and on about stuff that no one cares about. We listened to the interview for 5 minutes, and we heard basically nothing. She keeps going on and on. This is why this interview was a complete disaster. She answered no questions, like an actual question, even though these were gimmies. For crying out loud, all she had to say was, I support small businesses and I want to build more homes. That's all she had to say. But she went on a random tangent about, did you know that I grew up in a working class neighborhood? No one cares. Overall, this interview was bad. We're not even halfway through it, and it just keeps going on and on about stuff that no one cares about. Very easy questions that she can't answer properly. No wonder she can't do any interviews, because she physically cannot answer anything. These are such simple questions that anyone, including Joe, would have been able to answer. He would have been able to answer something. Now, again, it wouldn't be coherent, but at least it would be some kind of answer, not some random tangent about, yeah, did you know that when I was a kid, I grew up in a working class neighborhood? We've heard this 50 times already. You said this during the debate. All she did was copy and paste what she said during the debate into this interview. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.